Yeah, wait. Oh, Cash, you tiny Cash.
Oh no! Okay, hold on. Thank you for telling
And
me.
also, I don't have the stream muted. You
You
crazy
know
clown,
what?
I think.
I was crazy clown, actually. Thank you. It's fine. I've changed it back. I checked before stream. I made sure that I had hit the right thing and that it wasn't on a voice. But then voice mod said, "Ha ha ha ha, joke's on you."
There's no stopping crazy clown. They'll get
true.
you.
But also, Griffin
Oh,
Riffit.
I heard it.
That's 'cause I
Griffin Riffit.
turned off my noise filter just for you. Also,
Nice.
Sam,
Samsy.
hi. Sam, friend / lad, hello.
Sam lad.
How are you doing, friend? We're on save 2. That is the oldest, the longest save that we have. Sam, friend.
Either is applicable.
Yeah, that is correct. Both are accurate and and true. I am friend and fiend. Hey, you know how I said we would come to the police station and I would remember where we were supposed to go?
We are going to the museum and we're going to the top floor to find Eve.
I was gonna say, I do remember needing to go to the museum, I just couldn't remember where. Also, Emmy, hello.
I think we have to go up the stairs where we got pushed out the window by the Triceratops.
Okay. Right. Okay, no, I remember. Everything has come back to me. I know what's happening. Oh, you know,
Before we fought T-Rex and absolutely fucking bodied him with liver,
Yeah!
Turned into a fairy and spin kicked him.
It was amazing.
It was a busy
great.
episode.
I also was going to announce that I was streaming and then forgot, but I've done it now.
Oh, nice.
I forgot, and then I remembered, and then I forgot, and then I remembered. And now we're here. How is everyone doing on this fine Sunday? I don't know why I'm speaking the way that I am. I apologize, but not enough to change it.
It's almost Monday.
Almost Monday.
1 hour and 45 minutes.
That's wrong.
No, I looked at the clock just now. It's accurate.
It's incorrect.
I'm looking at the clock. Well, now it's 44 minutes. It's an hour and 44 minutes. So the update count is 1 hour 44 minutes. Oh god, how did we get in here? We need to leave.
I walked in here.
I thought this room was impossible to leave.
No, no, it was. But we remember how to get out now.
Okay.
I realized that the stairs we were talking about were these stairs, but I was silly and was like, yes, the stairs in the room where we fought the T-Rex. And then I was like, there are no stairs in the T-Rex room.
Specifically the room that the Triceratops knocked us out of, I think.
Well, that's like
so I think we do have to go from the second floor.
Alright, well...
It's not forever away, it's fine.
It's forever away.
It's not even a single forever away.
It's so far
Half
away.
a forever away, if that.
It's so far away. I'm gonna get licked by so many lizards.
There's like lifts and stuff that can take us to the 4th floor, but they all take us to the wrong bit and we can't leave. So
yeah.
We have to go up the stairs. Not the main stairs, it has to be the special stairs.
The special stairs for special boys.
It was, in fact, a new monster factory.
It's very good. I'm this centipede boy, though.
Yeah, this should have been Centipede Boy. I think we've outgrown Monster Factory. We're on a higher level than Monster Factory at doing monsters in games.
I am the original Monster Factory is the thing. I just never monetized it, so...
Oh, you missed,
What you...
missed a chance.
It's true.
Should have jumped on that.
Before the Waluigi's, it was all monsters. Emmy knows. Emmy's seen. I've shared some of my older creations in Dark Souls games.
I have seen some of those.
It's true! I need somebody to go bully the McElroys to give me money for being the progenitor of Monster Factory. They clearly stole my idea.
They were playing Dark Souls and they were looking through the window at the TV.
My god. The monsters.
We can make a show out of this. We're billionaires.
I mean, they weren't wrong.
No? It's the one underneath this.
Yeah, I'm realizing that.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I made a choice. I got up here. I do miss making monsters, just in general. Maybe that's what I'll... Maybe the next game that I do... Well, no, because I have so many games that I want to play. Here's the problem. There's a million games that I want to play.
You want to get Kenshi? It's very horrible, but you can make very good monsters.
Yeah, but what if I pay $60 for Soul Calibur 6? Not Soul Calibur. What was that? Street Fighter. Street Fighter 6?
You can make very long people in Street Fighter 6. We do know that.
I love it, and I'm here for it. Okay, while we're here, let's do a big ol' heal.
Yeah.
Cause this guy ain't shit. He's nothing. Please stop rolling.
He's quick.
Yeah, but he's dead now. Here's the thing that I don't know if you've noticed. I have done a murder on him.
He was quick. Before he exploded.
Yeah. But then he exploded. Is this?
It's either Clamp's office or the right place, right?
Oh. This is it.
Yeah, we're good.
This is where we want to be. But yeah, genuinely considering adding a make a monster redemption for channel points. It'd be expensive, so we don't do it all the time. But hi, Tom. It is. It's true.
Hi, Tom.
We found the right places. It's great. We have double-headed pterodactyls and roly-poly boys. That was a horrible texture to look at. Bird, please. You gotta go.
For just one fleeting moment, you had exactly 999 bullets.
It'll never happen again. I'm sorry.
Which probably means we need to reload, actually.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh, she's good. She's going. She's shooting.
Alright, that's that guy taken care of. Ugh. Hey! We did fight T-Rex and did go through a few bullets there, so that's probably where we're missing some.
We're basically maxed out. It's fine. It's...
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's super fine.
What do you mean
What
you
the
need
fuck?
a key? Hold on. 25 million years
you
ago,
have all the keys. Sorry.
oxygen increased in the air. Why? Photosynthesis? We gotta revive.
What do we do after T-Rex?
Well, I'm gonna wander around a little bit. No, wait. Deactivated the alarm, but it's not opening. I'll need a key for this one. But we have a key,
We have
Aya.
Clamp Key. Did you put Clamp Key away?
Didn't think I did. I might have.
We can't
Here's-
put Clamp Key away. We need Clamp Key.
Hey.
Kayshurr's
Yes.
clamp key.
Hey, guess who put clamp key away?
I'm looking for clamp key and I can't see it.
I thought I would make everything more difficult for ourselves.
I don't know
and
how the
get-
door relocked itself while we were out, but still.
It's fine. We'll just go get clamp key.
Velociraptors, the very intelligent animals.
We'll get clamp key. We'll hand over all this junk we have. Get rid of some other things, because I mean our inventory is a goddamn mess right now.
Am I hearing little divas in the back, by the way?
Yeah, he's honking. He is.
It's little hunks.
He's doing a thing. Devo, we know you're there.
Doing
Hi.
sounds.
Wanted to know what this was. Oh wait, no, I remember. We can do,
do
two
two
actions
things.
at once. Okay. He's plopped himself up against the door frame. Just had to come around, do do his rounds for honks, and then loaf. That's what the little lad is up to. Can't say his name or he'll start honking again.
Emmy's not the mayor anymore, by the way, Tom. You can just
Clown.
say hi to Emma. Yeah, it's
Clown
not
mayor.
Clown's mayor now.
I'm sorry, Emmy.
Kayshurr's on my side.
Sorry, I love Clown.
Who doesn't love Clown?
I'm sorry. It's just I've been on the campaign with Clown for a bit now. Spreading the good word of Clown. It's
Good
just
clown words, like
Yeah.
honk.
Like yeah, exactly. Where is Clampkey? Clampkey?
Clamp key.
Ooh.
You can't
I
do
got
it.
really confused for a second as to why Tom did exclamation point ban and then a thing popped up. It's fine.
Oh, hang on. There he goes. There goes Tom.
Here's the thing, Emmy. I might have been on your campaign for longer, but you did get eaten when we made you mayor. Was the thing. I don't know if you remember getting devoured. But it happens. I can pull up a clip of it. It occurred. Is the thing.
Urgency.
Ojin is
Hello,
raiding with
Ojin.
a party of 5. Keish and
Yeah.
the gang welcome you.
We didn't
Right.
find the body because we only checked the mayor's office.
What the hell? Wait.
Sylvie Stop is
Sylvie.
raiding with a
Oh.
party of 5. Keish and the gang
Plan
welcome
this.
you.
I think they were Ojin and Sylvie were playing together. Y'all were doing some Stardew, weren't you?
That makes sense.
Thank you, Emmy, for getting the shout out there. Welcome in friends, Train, Sylvie, Ojin, Nem, Bunno. There's amnesia. Hello.
Amnesiastic cat.
Thank you. I was trying to understand all the letters in there, and my brain was like,
also trying a dyslexic through that. Sorry, amnesiastic.
I'm sorry. I'm an idiot is the thing. How are y'all? How was your stream? Welcome in, friends. I think a lot of... Yeah, they were doing Stardew.
I really died a lot.
Really? Really? I was there for a little bit, and I did hear Ojin
Tripped and fell on his own shears.
shouting and honking and hooting about all the horrible things that were occurring. Skull Caverns, there you go.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a pleasant place you'd find pirate treasure and possibly the Black Pearl.
Oh no. Alright, well that's the end of stream. We have to go now. No, that's not true. Welcome in, friends! I think a lot of you know me, but in case you don't, my name is Kayshurrr. You can call me Kaysh. I'm a queer horror and mystery game streamer. I like to play strange things over here. It's the weekends though, which means I get to play games with Fruity. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know why my inflection is so weird today. Talking is hard.
It's weekend. Brain not turned on. It's fine.
Wait a minute. Who are you? I'm Keish. Hello. We're playing Parasite Eve today. Finishing Parasite Eve, actually, at least is the plan. Because I play horror games, I offer content warnings for every game that we play. If you ever need those, !CW is how you pull that up. It's also on a timer, so it will show up in chat every so often. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say. I don't think so. Devo's back here hooting as well. Hi,
he's going.
sweet boy. He is doing a thing. Train, thank you for the lurk. But yeah, welcome in, friends. Ojin and Sylvie, y'all have been streaming for a while. If you need to take a break, feel free to do so. This goes to all the raiders as well. Please go get a food, get some water, do some stuff. Take care of yourselves. We'll be here for a minute. So if you want to come back, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, it's important that you take care of yourselves. Emmy, come over. Give Devo cuddles. He'll love it. I actually meant to message you earlier to try and see if we wanted to plan a thing, and then I forgot. Because that is who I am as a human. I am bad at the planning things. But it's fine. So yeah, like I said, we're like nearing the end of video game. I have too much trash in my inventory, and by trash I mean health things,
Might need
medicine.
some health things.
You should have done it. You should have done it. But also, if you're sleepy, that's understandable. But you could do it, and I wouldn't be mad about it.
Just show up and talk to Devo, and Devo would say, "Ooh."
Ooh. Ooh. In fact, he is saying it right now. My God, you're so chatty right now. What's going on, bud? Hold on a second. I do have to pet this cat. Hi. Can I help you?
Quick break while we pet a cat.
Yeah. Well, now Farley's here, being like, "You need to pay attention to me," but get away from me, Devo. Gotta chill out, both of you. Hi. Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to live with the cats that he hated now, so he can
It's
try out
true.
all his new words,
It's true.
all his secret words.
He's got so much to say, and it's delightful and wonderful, and it makes me happy, but also I need him to shut up sometimes. 'Cause oh boy, is he just honking. Not reload. Move. I have so much garbage. Why can't I get rid of this?
Is it equipped?
No. Yes. No?
It's blue.
You're blue. I think it's because
It
I
should be
selected
equipped.
it.
Oh.
It
Well, but
is.
your
Why
armor
is it?
also why is it blue?
Why was it equipped? That's because I was looking at it. Because that was the only way for me to look at it. Okay. Okay. That was a me issue. I'll own up to that one. That was a me problem.
You're selecting
Oh.
ammo right now. You're reloading.
Fucking hell.
This
I
is the
pushed-
run. There
I
you go.
pushed down on my analog stick, but it said, "Haha, jokes actually, I'm too sensitive." It's like analog same, but please.
Definitely
Okay.
got clamp key now.
We have the clamp key. Clamp key is here. But we do have to you have to give me a minute to move everything around because oh boy, is it a disaster in here.
This is fine.
You go there. I wish I could get rid of my Hades gun.
Look, it's you He's trying his best.
I know he is, and I appreciate it, and like the charms, I don't want it to get damaged. So I would love to put it away so that I can keep it safe.
Made a special gun.
His special one attack point gun. What a joy. Alright, let's fucking go. We have clamp key. That's all that matters. Now that I've wasted, like, 10 minutes of our time,
It's fine, everyone gets to see all the cutscenes now.
It's true! I was actually just waiting for everyone to show up, was the thing. Because I'm nice like that, and I like to plan things out like that, and be really considerate like that. So, you know, you're welcome. I promise I'm normal.
I can't believe you'd lie to these people.
I don't know what's going on. It's fine.
It's fine. It's weekend. It's fine.
It's weekend. I can be a weird weirdo if I want.
Yeah.
Alright. We're here. We have clamp key. Please, no more fights. At least for the time being. Let me get in here.
Give him the clamps.
Gonna give him the clamps.
I'm glad the enemies stood guard.
Same!
Nice
I-
of them. They don't always.
I would have accepted having to fight them if it had come to it, because I was a fool and I did not bring the clamp key with me. But I do appreciate not having to. So, you know, that's cool and nice. Where am I going? I vaguely recognize this.
Oh, that's the cucumber.
That's the cucumber.
I think we've gone the wrong way. I think we want the room to the south of... Just
Okay.
because... Wait, is there a room to the south, or is that the window that the T-Rex pushed... That the Triceratops pushed us through?
Is a good question. This is where we came from.
Yeah, it has to be something here, right? Because this is the room the Triceratops was guarding.
Yeah.
That's the room you came in from.
Yeah, listen, Aya likes to just rub her face on a door sometimes and
yeah.
pass through even when I tell her not to. It's
Gets real
fine.
passive aggressive about it. So very fine. I'll walk for 5 minutes to find the perfect spot to open this, and you can't stop her.
It's just what she does. Oh,
Oh, cutscene.
oh. Probably goop warning. There's probably some goop in this cutscene.
There tends to be goop.
Oh, poor bones. It's fine, they're not real. Where did I come from? Game, you've started me in the middle of a room? What door did I come through?
I'm pretty sure the stairs is the right way, but I don't know if there's treasure hidden here because we just appeared in the middle of it.
I'm gonna get hit. It's fine, they do, like, none damage!
Why
Aw!
are you closer at this?
It's cute! They're trying to hurt me!
Punching you with the tiny baby hands is the problem.
Have they considered using the mouths full of horrible teeth that they own? Yeah, if they were real bones, I'd be very upset about it, but they're not, is the thing. Museums aren't fools. Gunk. Does not appear to be any secret treasure in here. I'm a little disappointed. Oh, those are some goopy stairs. Oh,
Them's meat stairs.
I-
Oh, it's squelchy up here.
yeah. I'm trying to figure out this perspective. I'm confused. There's nothing over there. I would like to not be in this room anymore. Oh.
That's why they keep all the cheese.
Goop is coming from Eve. Eve is
Eve
goop.
makes
It's all
goop.
the mitochondria.
Eve makes people in a goop, and then the goop just goes all over.
Tibbies. Get her, Aya. That is a very pregnant lady, and I am concerned.
A lot more arms than I remember.
Yeah. Listen, pregnancy will do some wild things to the body. Like make you grow extra limbs. I guess. No wonder you made it this far. So you're going to congratulate me on this birth? What are you planning to do, Eve? Perhaps you can help me answer that, Aya. Do humans give birth? Or why do humans give birth? Maya. Yeah, see? I know what I'm talking about. Pregnant people do grow extra limbs. They even have an extra skeleton for a while. Wild. Ma'am, please put your stinger away.
Please.
Oh, is it the soup people? Are they coming back? Sorry, the sound effect was very good.
Oh, it's not good though.
No, this is horrible and awful. But I did like the funny sound that the manholes made. So, New York has a kaiju issue.
Goop kaiju.
Someone called Godzilla.
Kaigu.
Kaiju. Look at him! So gunky!
Hey, why do you keep finding this handgun? Is that
Right.
Maida's gun?
Very possibly. Well, are you okay, Aya? Aya, Daniel, Maida, you both made it out okay. Yeah, we barely made it though. Did you see that ugly mama? That was everyone from Central Park. What? And you're saying that Lorraine's a part of that thing too?
Some
Sorry,
of the
Daniel.
molecules that were Lorraine are somewhere in there.
Right?
Like, wouldn't go as far as to say Lorraine is part of that.
Right? Oh boy. It has become apparent as to what medication Melissa had been taking. What was she on? She was being administered immunosuppressants. Immunosuppressants? For what? Why? Because they keep saying that the mitochondria is a bacteria, so if your immune system is suppressed, it's more likely to go out of control. I see where they're trying to go with this. I get it. Here's the story. Melissa had a transplant when she was a kid. Transplant? What kind of transplant? A liver transplant. Did we talk about this? Seems that she got one of your sister's kidneys. Okay, never mind. After Maya died in an accident.
They did say this. Club said all this, right?
Yeah. I had just gotten the liver part confused.
Yeah.
That was from the book.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah. Liver, kidney, same function in the body. It's fine.
It's probably the same.
Kidney transplant. So Melissa got Maya's kidney? Wow, what a cool white screen. Okay, there we go. Your mother and your sister were donors. What? Really? I never knew that. They're driving fast in New York City, of all places. It's fine. No one's here anymore.
They've evacuated New York City. It's fine.
It's the only time you'll ever get to do, like, 60 on a New York street. Your mother's organs couldn't be transplanted after the accident, so Maya's kidney was transplanted into the young Eve. No, I'm sorry, the young Melissa. She had kidney failure. Then Eve's kidney is really Maya's kidney? Yes, Aya, keep up. The intern that was present at the operation was, you guessed it, Hans Clamp. Our main man, Clamp, wanted to become a doctor. Doctors that were present during the operation were all surprised, and they all screamed that the kidney was hot.
Wow, that's a spicy kidney. Should we stop playing?
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Wouldn't worry about it. Arguably, Emmy, New York is a different dimension. Then Eve is... It's hard for me to say, but the original was present in Maya. Eve killed the host brain, cultured the kidney, and obtained her own physical body. And that's what happened to Melissa. In her case, the immunosuppressant drugs served to act as a catalyst. In Japan, Eve targeted a girl who had undergone a transplant. Kidney transplant to be exact, and she was taking the same immunosuppressant drugs. This was all so that Eve would have a uterus to plant the fertilized egg. Why are we saying that in... Well, okay, it's fine. In order to transplant organs, it is necessary for the HLA type to match. It lives symbiotically with other cells, so it's necessary to take immunosuppressants to control the immunity and avoid rejection. While being controlled by Eve, Melissa felt her body change, but she finally got the lead part in the opera. If she had gone to a doctor, she would have been told to give up the part. So in order to avoid rejection, she kept taking the drugs about it, and after taking so much, she was so weak that Eve was able to take over her physical body. And that's how she transformed into Mitochondria Eve. So then, Maya's the original Eve. In reality, it's Maya's mitochondria. Aww.
I think it's gonna be a really shocking twist that the other spicy kidney was transplanted into Aya. And everyone's gonna be really, really surprised to hear it.
That sounds ridiculous and like something that never would happen. I don't know what you're talking about. Definitely
Just making
not.
sure we're on the same page. It's like so heavy-handedly foreshadowed that it's like, am I crazy?
Right? They're trying to ruse you by making this very obvious plot point. But no, that's what's happening. It's fine. You don't need to understand any of it, Tom. It's a lot of nonsense. It's a lot of very silly. It's something that would be kind of neat, but they're trying to hide it behind a bunch of non-science, and it's very silly, and I kind of adore it.
They're trying.
They're trying. It's cute. Finally, the time has come to put our power to the test. All you need to know is there's a weird thing in cells that makes bodies goop, and a lady is trying to make an ultimate being from this goop, for the goop, by the goop.
There's goop cells in people that want to rebel and be their own guy. And that's what she's trying to do. She's on the side of the goop.
Yeah, the mitochondria. You know, the powerhouse of the cell. You understand then. That's all. All you need to know is that the mitochondria are actually little wizards.
Yeah.
And
Angry wizards.
They wish to be free. Release them.
Is the book it's loosely based on, is that like more like science fiction than like pulp nonsense.
Yes and no.
Is they're trying to like copy
There is a lot
people
of
talking about science in there?
There is a lot of like actual science in the book. I read it with a group of people, and at the time when I read it, I was still like working on my biology major. And I was pretty impressed with how like accurate a lot of it was, but it was college level biology. So there was a lot that like wasn't quite accurate towards the end.
Okay.
But it was a lot of other people were just like, I start going into this and it just feels like I'm reading a biology paper, and it's like, that's because you are. This is literally just like somebody's like paper on cells from college. But then and then it starts like moving into the whole like very pulpy sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
That part of it was very endearing, but a lot of it was just weird.
Yeah, don't read it.
Weird science and then sexualizing corpses. Hey! Don't read it. It's just play the game.
The game's more firmly rooted in pulp nonsense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They
kind of
played
adore
Resident Evil and it blew their dang minds. And they were like, we should make that, but with Final Fantasy.
Yeah!
Because we are Square.
They did a great job. They nailed it. Calling all fighter jets! We've just received permission to attack. Commence operation. Head for the Statue of Liberty. As planned, Helicopter Team 1 will prepare for Plan 2. Team 2, you should probably name it something other than Plan 2 if you have a Team 2. It's gonna get people confused. Yeah. Team 2 will search, and the rest will do their best to impede further advancement. Like call it Team 1 and Team 2, and Plan A and Plan B. If you want to keep it real simple and straightforward.
So Tom, just because last time you said like this looks like something you might want to play, Front Mission 3 is also a Squaresoft game of the same era, and has the funny cutscenes. And just slaps a whole bunch. It's one of my favorite games.
It was a lot of fun watching you play Front Mission. It's delightful.
Like the first... One of the first ones?
Yeah.
That you came over to my channel?
I think
really good.
It was delightful.
It's like a Final Fantasy thing, but you're piloting giant mechs and you can swap out the pets. And it's really cool. And then all the pilots learn special skills, like being able to punch twice. And Lenny just goes hog wild and punches everyone. There's mech knuckle dusters in Front Mission 3. That's all you need to know.
Parasite Eve wasn't released in Europe?
That's weird.
I mean, that would make sense.
You know what? That's why it's not on Vim's Lair anymore.
Hey! That would make sense. That's interesting. That would make sense as to why you never heard of it then. What's Fruity's excuse?
I'd heard of it. I played it through before you heard of it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. How'd you hear about it then?
I know about all the games.
Okay.
I know about
alright.
any game that's weird and like had to play.
No, that is true. That is correct.
I just know about.
Alright, what do we got? Navy's made their move! What? I like Maeda just creeping back there. We can't allow this! We'll be repeating what happened yesterday with the jets! I don't think they care, is the thing. Look at that gunkus! Ball.
Gunk up.
Gorb. No, Lorraine! Lorraine can't be part of that thing! The huge creature. Or no, those cells. That must be where Eve's giving birth. Where she's giving birth.
Hey,
Yes.
please, you know this. She just
Right.
told you.
The huge creature will act as a barrier to protect the ultimate being. Oh, Lorraine is a part of that thing. Watch out. I think Daniel's getting fixated on the wrong part of this whole situation.
Yeah, Lorraine is soup now.
Well, who knows where those are going now? I love that that's like an actual explosion that they've just put in there.
It's really cool. Crossed off jets, now we can
Lorraine.
cross off helicopters as things that don't work on Eve.
The helicopter's coming. Everyone duck, cover your heads, and you should probably move. What is going on with Daniel's face?
Oh, he's got one big eye and one small eye and a giant mustache that's kind of on the side.
Officer Bray of the NYPD, correct? Ma'am, it is my duty to accompany you to the aircraft carrier. Accompany her? To the what?
It's a big boat that planes land on.
The what? Well, welcome aboard the Navy's Pride and Joy, Nimitz. It's a silly name. I'm Williams. I command the ship. Sorry to have you come on such short notice. Hey, you better not put I in danger here. You, who do you think you are talking to the Admiral that way? It's quite alright, Lynch. After all, he is right. What do you mean? You're the only one that can be ignited, or you're the only one that can't be ignited by her. Big difference in that sentence. I'm asking you to get in our chopper and nuke the creature. Hold on, I can't fly a helicopter. Not to worry, the chopper's been set to auto. She won't have any problem. Can they do that? So she just needs to fire from a distance where she can't be ignited? Unfortunately, the weapon needs to be fired at close range in order to work. We cannot move in that close because we will be ignited. Well, I'll do it. No way! You're not going up there! Our fate lies in your hands, Aya. There's one thing I've learned about self-driving things. That it's probably fine as long as it's not a Tesla.
That's true.
Okay, Daniel? That thing. That's not Lorraine. Good on you for recognizing that. Took you long enough, buddy. Do it for Lorraine too, Aya. Oh, wait, Aya, please take this. Maeda, I don't want any of more of your shit in my pocket, buddy. Listen. I'm off it, man. We don't have time for that right now. Yes, of course. Aya, please be careful up there, okay? Of course, I'll be fine. Maeda, I love you. I adore you. You're wonderful and perfect. Stop giving me garbage. I gotta keep these pockets as empty as I possibly can. Maya, look at how determined she looks.
Yeah.
She's ready to go. Look at him go!
Zip it.
So zoomy. Creatures within view. Switch to formation 2! Was that team 2 doing plan 2 into formation 2, or... What's happening here? In the last battle, we were able to anticipate this attack. Positioned this way for a reason. What do you mean? Seems to have gone over very well for them. We will act as your shield so that you will live to attack the creature. What? No, I'm not doing this without you. They're war nerds. It's fine. We're entering firing range. Prepare to attack! Alright, please move away from me. Now! Cannot abandon our duty. Besides, we're already within range. Why not just set those to auto, then? If this is a thing that we can do... I have questions. Goop.
Like, the nobly sacrificed themselves so you could shoot the big goop man.
Okay, this is insane! Since Christmas Eve, I've put a curse on my own body. Why? Oh, oops. But I don't care anymore. Because Eve, I'm the one that can destroy you, once and for all! Maya, I'll end this and let you rest peacefully. Yeah, okay, Devo.
Cheering around.
Yeah. He's very concerned about everything that's happening.
Oh,
That's rad.
fucking got him.
Yeah, but is it... Handle. We've gooped Lady Liberty!
She's so sad.
So sad. I
Can't
would
wipe
also...
her face because her hands are full.
Well... It's fine, it was a gift from the French anyway. Nobody cares about the French. We did it! At least no one hold me to that. It was a joke. Well done. That was magnificent. Turn to base, Aya. No, it's not over yet. Right? This game says we could just go kinda hard with it. But actually, they're gonna do as much as possible. Look at that, looky. Man, that's how our hands go. Well,
It's their extra pregnancy hands.
it's the pregnancy.
Pregnancy arms.
I come back now. It's too dangerous to continue. Return to base at once. We will plan. But will you save your progress? Nah. No, of course I'm going to. You fools. Are you sure? Yes? What do you mean am I sure am I gonna save? Game. Yes, Aya, please, I need to give you. Forget it. She signed off already.
Yes, something to give you. It's very important.
But Aya wants to go.
It's very important.
Look at her go.
Dang.
Just have him swim out. He can give it to me here.
Oh, it's just all jam.
Yeah,
Is Lorraine a part of that?
probably. So it was you. Eve, you look a little different. You got hands everywhere. Maya. That must be the name of my host. Let me guess. Your sister. You have the ability to evolve. Why take the side of a doomed species? Humans aren't doomed. Hard disagree. If my mitochondria has the ability to evolve, it'll evolve to get rid of you! Love that sense of humor of yours, girl. Why is it that humans kill? Humans kill other creatures, and they even kill their own kind. We have our reasons, and you sure are a good enough reason for us to kill. All organisms have something called a territory. This territory is guarded from natural enemies. But until now, humans had no such natural enemy. I'm sorry, I'm having such a hard time reading. That is what has allowed them to prosper to this point. You beings must think of your prosperity as history. But you're wrong! We mitochondria have lived within the human being and have allowed you to prosper. What? We mitochondria have made you create the perfect environment for us. Humans have come to rely on civilization and have lost touch with innate physical abilities. Can't you see that it's the perfect scenario? What? Then you're saying that humans were kept alive for the mitochondria's sake? You humans just served as transportation vehicles for us. What do you mean? Vehicles to transport us to the time the mitochondria would become free again. But you see, the vehicle is no longer needed anymore. From now on, the mitochondria will become human beings and will rule this earth. Okay, ma'am.
Tiny wizards will become normal-sized wizards.
Normal wizards. Hey! Where can we attack? All over the place.
Got a few points.
Head, butt, body. You go butt.
Always the safe bet.
Whoa, hey, ma'am?
Law.
Yeah, it did?
That was very rude of her.
Can't. Okay, look here.
It's honking the whole time, is it?
It's gonna be great. Hold on. There we go. Ma'am!
Oh.
Ah! 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 Ah!
They're a little rude.
Ah!
Oh, we're alright on medicine, though. We're doing okay on that. And we do have a liberate for just
I
a
was
bunch
just.
of us. Okay.
I was gonna do that. That was the plan.
It's a good move.
I'm glad I'm still hitting her, even though she's like way up there.
Oh, we saw one of the numbers.
Yeah. Does seem like we're
That's
attacking
crazy amounts
different
of damage.
parts.
It will attack anything that's attackable at random.
Okay.
So it is spreading the damage out, but it's doing
That's fine. It's doing
6
a lot.
shots worth of damage per punch.
Yeah. We're cool with that.
It's just such high damage.
And it did stop her from doing the attack that I haven't figured out how to dodge yet, so that's cool and nice.
That's handy.
I didn't think that was going to be the case, but you know.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna get destroyed as soon as it finished.
Yeah.
But you didn't. Good job.
Hooray! Oh, well. Just
Wait, you only got hit once by standing completely still.
so maybe standing still is the move. Sorry, we're gonna continue to use all of these.
I think she's trying to grab you again. Oh, I
Yeah.
think she's grabbed you again.
think I've been grabbed. Fuck.
Possible.
Okay, look here. Let's just get back to full.
Seems reasonable.
Don't grab, no grab, no grab, none grab!
Why don't you just shoot a gun? The screams were too cozy, and Emmy, you knocked Emmy out. Oh.
I have that power over people. Ma'am? Okay, okay. It's fine. We dodged, it's fine.
Nice.
No. Okay, that's fine.
Take some shooting.
Yeah. What if we liberate again? Consider we just do gobs of damage everywhere.
What if? Turn into an angel and do karate.
It's my favorite pastime. Do not be afraid, I say as I absolutely wreck her shit. Okay, let's move from here. What is... I don't think she liked that. Oh! Oh! I didn't like that! We're doing a full recover.
Yeah, it's fine. That grab might just
Ma'am!
take you down a one.
You
That
can't!
grab just takes you down a 1 health.
I am
Which is very, very rude.
upset.
She must be low though now if she's throwing that out every 10 seconds.
Oops. I can only attack her middle.
That must mean that's the only one that's left.
Yep! That would explain why her moves have gotten so scary so suddenly, please. You have to stop doing this.
Does she have all the moves? Because if not, you can just heal like once after each one.
Yeah.
And she'll never kill you.
It's true. I am scared about the possibility of other moves being involved. Hold on. That looks like a different move, so...
They look like the same wibbly wobbly coloured circles to me. That one's a different move. I'll give you that one.
Did we do it? I'll give you points for trying. But enough of this nonsense. Second form. Watch and learn what evolution really means. And then she vanishes into the sun.
I must go now. My planet needs me.
Ma'am? Excuse me? I don't need the crotch shot, thank you. Oh boy. This
This
is
is what evolution really means. Oh, we do have a rocket launcher, by the way. I
yeah!
just saw.
I forgot about that. Oh god, this is all bad.
We're probably getting MP at a reasonable rate now if it counts as a different fight.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, AP's going up way faster.
Can we?
Time
Ma'am?
doesn't- What?
It's fine! It's fine!
Not even close.
Ah, ah. happening? Can you not do that?
It's 60 damage, it's fine.
Oh, boy.
We have loads of rockets as well. You got this.
It is true. I don't know where to run. Oh, that's a defense down.
Yeah, we might want to kill that.
Where was it? Where is it? Full recover? All HP and remove statuses. Lovely.
That's not bad.
Man, you have to not smack me like this. That's rude. I can't move as fast as you because there's gunk on the floor. I am poisoned.
Yeah, it's a really bad poison as well. We got detox, so we can just get rid of that. That's nothing.
Stop!
This is fine. We got a rocket launcher. I'm not worried.
I'm worried.
No, you're not.
I'm worried. I can't move.
You're a little bit stuck. But you have a rocket launcher, so you know. Oh, I did the stairs wore off and it just put it back on. Alright.
I need
Well,
to
shoot a
heal.
naked lady with a rocket launcher. This is fine.
I don't think it's fine.
I think this is fine.
Well, she's doing that again. Fuck off! Okay, it's fine, actually.
Just gotta keep running in the direction you were already running and not run into the edge of the screen. Because in that case you're gonna get hit, but you know.
Yeah.
Could be using haste to dodge these, but we'd have to be applying it all the time because it wears off instantly.
Stop! Man!
That one just hits you, you're not dodging that, I think. Doesn't do a lot of damage though.
No, but then I'm stuck! You
Well-
bitch! Oh!
You can move during the cutscene?
I guess.
You just run away during the cutscene, it's easy.
I just get scared and I make sure that I'm like planning on moving in a direction. Like during the cutscene, I just have to hold the analog in a specific direction so that I remember that's where I want to go.
No, you were actually moving during the cutscene. Yeah, that's a really good move. You were
Good.
You're running like all the way up to the top corner while the cutscene was still going. 0.
What's happening? I don't understand. No, you can't be our natural enemy. No!
It's me, Mitochondria 2.
Aw, she gooping.
Oh, she's gooping.
Got gooped.
This is kind of cool.
That was really rad, but also there must have been some mitochondria that underwent a different type of evolution. Think about it, Eve. Fuck off, Aya. Shut up.
Aya pretending she understands what's going on.
Right? Day 6 liberation. This is the last day, isn't it? The final day.
I mean, it's got to be, right?
Probably?
Just blow up Eve.
Ow. Sorry. Just noticed I have a bruise on my arm.
Oh, jeez.
It's fine. I think it's from where they drew blood, so that makes sense.
I'll do it.
Just didn't realize it was there until I touched it. Was like, fuck, why did that hurt? Aya, come on.
Who is this jogging man and why is he on an aircraft carrier?
It's just jogging, man. Aya, what's
Just
wrong?
Some guy goes past walking his dog.
Right. You were great, Aya. Shows that only my partner can pull it off, eh? Yes, Aya, I'm relieved that you made it back safely. Why the hell did Eve have to bring all this to the Statue of Liberty? Because of the ocean and what it symbolizes. The sea is the mother of all creation. This is where she wanted to give birth. Oh, I can move. You don't mind, I'd like to have some time to myself. Oh, okay, bye. Everyone else has been guided inside, miss. Don't you miss me. What's this? Nothing. Great! Inside we go then.
I'll miss someone after they've just killed a wizard with a rocket launcher.
Watch out, I'll do it to you too. No need for this anymore. You take it. Keep it as a souvenir, huh? Yes, thank you. Why is Wayne here?
We'll let Wayne on board.
Wayne came all the way from the precinct to see you. Why? Throw him overboard. I'll be outside. The smell of oil makes me, rather queasy. I knew it. I knew you could do it. Fuck off. When I heard that you had blew that thing to bits, I had to come over here. Everyone's saying that you're the #1 cop in New York right now. Hey, what's wrong? You killed that thing. Aren't you happy? Guess you're in shock or something, huh? Yeah, you're probably tired too. Take the things that are in your way, so you rest up now, you hear? Yeah, okay, whatever. This fucking guy. Can you take this now? This? Ah! Okay, it's
Very important. It's an important gun.
Don't. Why?
Could get the health things that we'd stuck to them off.
Yeah, no,
Just
that's
in case.
definitely
Right,
that is what's happening. We're getting rid of the clamp key. That
If
can
we
go
need it
away. We don't need it.
We don't
We'll
need
never,
the clamp key
we'll
left.
never need it. Not use. We move. How many? We just have 3. Okay. Ooh. No. Upset. Got a lot of revives.
Even if we don't use them, you know, there's not a lot of the game left, so...
Yeah, so we're just gonna move those over, because why not?
Yeah, might as well. Just in case.
Yeah.
Although at this point in the game, like, that magic spells are so good that it's...
Likely don't need those, but you know,
best
maybe
episode.
this time. Okay, fine. You know what? Fine. We're doing this again. Fine. Just
Good
keep all
idea.
this. Keep all this.
Get a clamp
garbage with
key.
me.
You never know what you could use.
We'll bring it all with us then.
Every key that we've ever found.
Hey, as a souvenir for blowing Eva away, I'll engrave your name on any weapon.
Let's
I
do-
mean, 4
Oh,
letters.
can name gun?
Can name gun.
What would we call gun?
Gun.
G3A3 gun. G3A3 gun. 3 guns.
How do I go? Okay, there we go. This is gonna be... This is miserable. No. Oh my god.
Blizzy.
Okay.
Blizzy.
No.
Blizzy.
Please. That's... Accept it. No! It's almost not worth the joke anymore. But I'm committed.
This is the new joke. That's how hard it is to type in.
It's ridiculous. Okay.
You took your hand off the stick, I heard it. You saw that it was on the wrong one. We just gotta get out of this venue. It's bad here.
Spajacket is perfect as is.
Yeah, that's not a reverse Spajacket.
Great being on this cruiser, eh? Gotta tell my mom about this. Wayne, I don't...
The time. You tried to spell blaze it for like 5 minutes and then ended up calling it fuck.
Very upset, okay? Oh my god, I'm going to actually destroy this. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Oh jeez.
Receive some supplies from Admiral Williams. Please make use of whatever items you need. You're giving me so many. Well done, I received some supplies. Are you just going to continue to give these to me? Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was like, you're still listing them there.
Everything else is kind of trash. Yeah.
So it's weird that they, like, listed a whole bunch of nothing in there.
Yeah. Two options, then 4 blank spaces, then ammo.
Let's actually, well, okay, hold on. Oh boy, it sure is full in here.
This is fine, we're doing real good on stuff, and we really don't need to worry about it. If we can tolerate it being a bit of a mess, we're good, we're golden. It's not Resident Evil 4. You don't need your inventory to be that neat in this one. It's fine. It's allowed.
But it bothers me.
You don't need to play inventory Tetris here.
But I want it to be nice for me. Some Christmas, huh? Go home to your son, Daniel. Tell me about it. Just gonna listen to this helicopter get closer.
Where is Daniel's son?
Away.
His mum's soup now, and his dad will not go to him.
Sorry, we're late. Could not approach the creature without absolute confirmation of its death. Your help was greatly appreciated. Please, rest inside. I mean, they've given me a bunch of stuff, so there's something is happening. There's something more that's happening.
What do you mean? We did it.
What's going on?
We're gonna have a celebration. We're gonna do the ball scene from Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh god, no. I'd rather die.
We're gonna dance with Maida, and he's gonna be really awkward and keep falling over.
The huge creature that the mitochondria was creating was... That's the battle sound. Couldn't have been the uterus for the ultimate being. No! Aha, jokes! It's soup!
Soup,
Oh.
baby.
Oh god! Oh,
Oh.
god! Well... It's nice
You
knowing
sunk my
everyone.
battleship.
Whoa! Whoa! Look at that thing!
That's amazing.
I
Tiny
love
little
him!
Antichrist. I love him.
What the hell is that? That is my son, Daniel. You've got to be kidding. That is the ultimate being? We didn't make it in time. What are these explosions? The mitochondrial energy must be out of control, to the point where it is causing these explosions. We'll escape by helicopter. Please, follow me. Guess all we can do for now is run. Hi, Akos. How are you doing? Maya, come on. Maya, what's wrong? I have to take care of this. Maya, no! Don't worry about me. I'll be back. Please, hurry. Shut up, man! Aya, please take... what the... I was reading that! No, Daniel, please. This is different. It's not the voodoo stuff. Hurry, please. You two should go. Now. Aya, you're coming back no matter what, you hear? And just let me take the shit that Maeda has, please. He's been trying to give it to me for like an hour.
There's no time to waste. We gotta get him on the helicopter.
We've wasted so much time. Look at this little guy!
Look at this scamp.
I genuinely adore this thing. Baby. Oh. You fall down.
It's only like 30 seconds old. It's hard. It's
I know. No, it's great. I love him. Can I adopt him?
What button is adopt?
It's you or me who's gonna be the one to make it through. Consider we both get out, and this is our son now. Look at him. That's the question. Oh.
Pulls out rocket launcher. Oh, baby.
This little sounds!
King the Spa Child.
I'm sorry, baby. I love you. Oh. Wait, is that it?
Is he okay?
Oh, we're in the teen years. Is it growing? What's happening?
Sure you can, baby. I can't believe you do this.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm sorry, my child. It has to be this way.
As soon as the cutscene ended, and she pulled out the rocket launcher instantly, just quick through the anti-4.
Oh, it's very... Oh, wait,
nice.
what? These two guys, not one guy. Hey, you need to stop that. Hey, guess what I can do again?
Oh no.
I know! I'm so sad! keto state baby. I'm a little upset about this. I loved that little guy.
Very good.
Do you like watching us zoom across the screen though to punch a different guy because we got bored with the other one?
This guy's just a weird pile of hands, which we've already seen weird piles of hands.
Right? But I want
That were Eve's thing.
I want big brain baby back, sir.
At least he's having a good time.
We should move away from the exploding teen. Consider. Oh God, he's ripped.
That's a Monster Factory character.
Yeah, it is.
He's got
Holy
a big
shit.
torso and then very narrow hourglass figure.
This is the mature being. We're just seeing the whole life cycle of this little guy.
I liked him better when he was a baby.
Yeah, same. Oh, hey, please stop. Oh God, it's a disaster in here.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. There's nothing going on actually, except the item that you're looking for, which is fine. All the other stuff's not there.
We have one more rocket. Please stop.
It was
This
fun
is
while
it.
it lasted, rocket launcher.
Oh!
No, we have none more rocket.
Then why did it say one?
It must have been one, including the one you will have to switch back to fuck.
Unless no. There's no secret about my Ada's gun where it's
To
actually
fuck.
it's a good gun. We do have a lot of revives, so I'm not particularly worried. Oh, hey, guess what I can do? I've done very good at not singing it thus far, but every time I see it, I do think of the Slipknot song "Liberate." I just need everyone to know that every time I activate that, I desperately want to go liberate my madness, and I'm not gonna. But I just needed to point it out.
Gonna not liberate that madness. You're gonna keep
No.
it bottled up.
It's gonna stay inside. None liberating here.
Purple orbs is just another one of those moves that you dodge by. I hope
kinda
it doesn't hit me. Huh?
Thus far, it seems that I just need to like move away from where I
Oh, it
was
took you to 1 health.
originally. Yeah, it did. I need to move away from where I was when he launches it. But as long as I have wiggled in one direction for a little bit, then we're fine. Sorry, that's done nothing. That did a thing though.
He's got moves, this ultimate being. Rumors
Fuck
of him
off.
not having any moves. Unfounded.
He's gonna orb. Okay, well I got hit that time.
I think you were a
But-
bit far away.
Yeah.
If you close it, maybe you just go where it go. Maybe you can't tell Orb what to do.
Orb does what it wants. This is fine.
Just Orb things.
Sir! Go away. Oof. Well, my silly powers are never gonna come back, so that's a little tragic.
Yeah, it's a shame we only got to explode him once.
That does nothing. You
Why does
fool.
that do none?
Oof.
That is more than none.
Yeah, that does a bit more than none. Can you fuck off with that?
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that one,
You know
that
what?
one got you twice.
You know what? It's fine. I'm gonna let him kill me, and we'll get a revive in here.
Do have a few of them kicking around.
Yeah. And then we'll do a heal.
Wait, your mana's going up again?
This is fine.
So if you revive, you can liberate again?
Oh!
Oh, okay.
It's not necessary, apparently. Why is he off the screen? I would love to be able to see the man dying. Oh! Hello! He
Fish.
too is weird angel thing. It's still growing! No, wait. Is it still evolving? Well, no, fuck. What is happening here? I can't target those things. They just exist here now. This does nothing. Why is my gun bad, actually? What the fuck?
It's not quite the numbers we were hoping for.
Maybe he only has like 10 health, actually.
Yeah.
He's devolved a little bit, actually.
It's gone back one.
I need Maeda to do a thing, huh? He needs to show up. Maeda, give me your thing.
Hey, Maeda, what was that thing you were trying to hand me earlier?
Ouch, ouch,
Not
ouch.
too late.
Just throw it down here. I'll catch it. Can y'all stop? I know you want to continue living. After all, you were just born, but I want to live too, like all other human beings. It does give, like, Cause vibes. Not Orphan of Cause, but just big ol' fish person, you know? Damn, there's no end to this! If only we could get this to Aya. What are those? They're bullets with Aya's cells in them. So that's what you were trying to give her? But I think it's too late now. There's nothing we can do. Stupid, give them to me! And then he leans out of the helicopter and snipes the baby dead. What a goopy boy. Daniel, what the fuck? Wait, what the fuck? Daniel! No! What the fuck? Daniel!
Oh, thanks, Daniel.
Is this just a thing that he does?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Oh, that's doing a little bit better.
Just a bit. It's, don't have that much range on this gun, though.
I think he was doing quad nines, triple nines, even when he was out of range.
Yeah, no, it was very good, but it just annoyed me that she decided she wanted to use a different gun. That's not fuck. I wanted to use fuck.
I think she swapped to my Ada's gun.
The fool.
It's his special gun to shoot his special bullets.
Makes sense.
That's why we couldn't throw it away.
But my fish son. Oh my god. There's gotta be something on the cruiser to get rid of this. What's this? He's coming at me menacingly. Alright. Baby, can you just stay out here on the deck for a little bit? I'll get back to you, buddy.
Be right back.
Can someone keep an eye on the baby? The engine room. Oh. Nah, baby says I have to be involved in everything that you're doing. I get it. I understand. It's how they learn.
Sliding after you like a penguin.
Can I look at this? Nope. Alright. Looked like it was a map, so I was hoping that I could just get a general idea of where I was going, because don't like that the music is picking up in tempo. Baby is still back there. I am still very far ahead of Baby. I think we're okay.
Squiggling.
Oh, Lottie coming. Well, that looks like a thing. The boiler pressure shoots up. I can blow the ship to bits. I want to see the baby flop down. Yeah, that's what I want!
Wanna see
You know where
baby
we are?
fall?
I wanted to see the baby flop past the ladder. We're in Hell's Kitchen. Oh. What is baby doing? Baby's poor ears. What?
Hang out the ladder.
Baby
How do you
can't fall
slide on
up.
there?
Yeah. Baby, you don't live here. Don't be slamming doors open. We're a guest here, okay? This is... Whoa! Baby, please. What is baby
shit.
doing? What is baby doing?
Oh.
Baby, what are you doing? This is a bad baby. I need this. We have to put baby in timeout, I think. Bye! That ocean is full of people soup.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this ocean right now, I think. Oh good, Daniel's fine.
It's fine. Slamming into the water at 1,000 miles an hour while on fire broke his fall, you see.
See, he's like Crowley in that he has an imagination.
Yeah. It's just imagining the whole way down. This is fine.
This is fine.
I'm just handing my friends some items that they forgot before they left.
Oh god. It's finally over. I don't understand. Why do I have this? How? Why are... What do you mean, I? Because it's... Okay, it's fine.
I in inverted commas.
Yeah! It's because Maya's inside of you, too. What? When your mother and your sister died, they transplanted a part of your sister into you. Into me? Yeah. When you were 7, you probably don't remember any of it, but you were born with a defect in your right eye, so Maya's cornea was transplanted into your right eye.
I want the other kidney. They're not
Right
kidney
eye?
twins.
They're not kidney twins. She just has her cornea. Then what I saw when I touched Eve was, it said that when you have an extreme experience, I thought he was going to say when you have a transplant, you share the memories of your the transplantee. What you see then is branded onto. Okay. That is what he is saying. Okay. But this hasn't been scientifically proven. That was Maya's last memory? That was the last thing she ever saw? As for the mitochondria that was in Aya's body, I think it underwent a different evolutionary change than Eve. By living symbiotically with Aya's mitochondria, it still possessed Eve's power. From there, it evolved to the point where it could live symbiotically with the human nucleus. You mean like they already had? You mean like how it has with every other human being? Okay, cool.
That's wild.
Me and Maya, our mitochondrial power. Starting with the incident in Japan and now with this, I wonder if this is a message to all mankind. Message? What kind of message? How can I explain? If the Earth is a single human being, it's not, it's an Earth. We humans that invade the Earth become like viruses out of control. We, in essence, are upsetting the natural balance of the body. This is definitely utter destruction. Be nice to the planet is the moral of the message from Parasite Eve. Good message. No, we're not that weak. You see, humans are, in essence, parasites. You can say that we are parasites and the world is our host. Maeda super based. Look, the sun's coming up.
And seeing that baby get hit with that AT4 rocket really made me think we should recycle more.
That's what I think of when I see babies get rocket launched. Holy shit! Oh, I'm dead. Game? Okay. Oh, hey! Ben's still around. So where have you been for the past several hours? Come on, Aya, here, take my hand. Thank you, Ben. It's just progressing on its own. Are we going to the opera again? That feels like a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't. Consider we don't? I'm not too good with these social events. Not me. I love these things. I have to make up for Christmas Eve.
Also, don't take a child to see the opera. They won't like
Yeah.
it. It's not.
He's gonna be bored and annoyed, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna be a good time. This is my first time, so I'm nervous. That's because you're with Aya, and she's all dressed up and pretty. That's not it, of course not. It's starting, shall we? Aya says, we're ignoring that. Moving on. Oh, look at those people!
I can't tell which ones are drawn on the background and which ones are the actual people from the game. It's crazy. Seamless.
I want to believe that it's just a crowd full of cardboard cutout people since most of New York has been destroyed. Restaurant must be really crowded. What's wrong? You seem tense. Okay, just hold hands, you two. Come on. What? Well, since I'm going back to Japan tomorrow, I Wow!
Whoa.
Alright, made it on time. I'm sitting next to there's a free seat right next to her anyway. Sorry we're late.
It is a poor nerd boy is getting bullied by this child. He's gonna stuff him into his locker and take his lunch on it. And he's 20 years older than him.
I love Maeda so much. Oh my god.
Maeda's great.
Father, please give me permission to marry Eva. Don't talk about Eva or Eve or any variant thereof to me, sir. I forbid it. You know well what will happen if you do. Those who succumb to her beauty all die in horrible ways. Good way to reuse a cutscene from the very beginning of the game. She's the one that has suffered after all the deaths. She is evil! Grab her! And burn her at the stake! And thus, the game starts over. Father, you are sentencing her to death. And I ask you to take my life. Edward! Hello! I'm doing alright. How are you doing? Get with it, guys. Is that it? Oh, no. Okay. We still have a song. We got it. We have to reuse the cutscene from the very beginning. Because otherwise, it's just a waste. I mean, everyone burned up last time, right?
Yeah, no one remembers. They all were immolated.
Uh-oh. Wait. Oh? Aya, sit down. You're blocking the people behind you. Because that's not ominous. I'm sure it's fine. Dang. What a game! I really liked it. That was rad as fuck.
Glad you could deal with the combat. Wasn't even that put off by the combat.
Why the fuck is
seemed
Nomura involved in this? No.
Oh my God,
Shut
it's
the fuck
fucking
up!
Nomura here.
Shut the fuck up! No!
What
No!
did he do? I
He
wasn't
did
looking.
the monster design! Nomura! What the fuck happened?
Nomura, how did you used to be cool? How is that even possible?
Or did it say main character design? It might have said main character, but even still! That would include Eve!
He might
Nomura,
have
what?
been the main character designer.
But even
'Cause-
still, what happened?
After whatever happened, he did
What?
make after the incident where
The trench coat
Nomura's-
incident?
Yeah, when Nomura's mitochondria took over and started just drawing people in big trench coats with loads of zippers. He did make the third birthday, like it was supposed to be.
I heard that one was
Parasite
absolute
3,
shit.
It's dog shit. Never play it. It is awful. It's so
like going
bad.
into these games knowing very little, I know that the third birthday is absolute trash.
Yeah, don't ever play the third birthday. We can do 2 if you want, but we stop there. Third birthday didn't happen.
It's not real. There's only 2 games in this trilogy, obviously.
Well, the last one was PSP, I think, like ages later, and it's fully Nomura doing everything. And it's like, I really like the character Ayabria, and I want to show her off one last time, and it's the anniversary of Parasite Eve, and everyone were really excited. Anyway, fucking trash. And also, like, actual character assassination on Ayabria, who doesn't
Really?
have that much character. Oh yeah.
Wow. Well,
Exactly
despite-
the opposite of what anyone could ever have wanted.
despite the fact that I have now found out that Nomura has tainted yet another property, by being really good in it just to go on and do Kingdom Hearts crimes.
He credited him for a mission.
This was... Did he?
I have to check.
Oh, I'd be scared if he did. How do I skip this? Because I'm pretty sure that this is copyrighted music. Is the thing. We'll just turn it down. How about that? It's like, can't skip. Yeah, no, this was awesome. I loved this. This was great.
Really glad you liked it. It's a really cool game.
Yeah, no, this is definitely one that I think like I'll probably like play on like every couple of years or something just to like revisit it, because this is a lot of fun and it's not terribly long. Like I think our playtime is like in the 10-hour mark at this point, which like I mean is long, but that's pretty short for an RPG, and I can do that in like 2 days. I could do that over a weekend if I really wanted to. And I'm here for that.
There is like a second ending you can only get on a new game run, a new game plus run, and it takes you have to play through the entire game again, and it's a pain, and you have to fight like a really powerful boss at the end, which is like, oh. I never did it. It doesn't seem worth doing, but we could if we want.
I mean, if I do, it'd be a while from now.
Yeah.
But now that I know how to move around save files in Duck Station, this can happen. Because Disc 2 technically counts as as having its own memory card. Obviously, because I put in a different memory card. Because my butler Duck is very particular. I'd be down to do that at some point in the future, probably off stream. This was fun though. I know I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. I liked the wiggly combat. It was fun. My big issue with a lot of turn-based stuff is that I'm very bad at planning out moves for future stuff, but it also, like, I don't feel involved, and so I tend to just kind of, like, zone out a bit, having to continue to wiggle my character around to avoid attacks, while also waiting for a gauge to fill up is a good way to get me to do vague turn-based combat. So, I don't know, I liked it, plus it was just funny. It was very funny and very weird.
Yeah, the monsters were really cool.
Yeah! We all know that I get mushy for good monsters. The monsters in this were rad.
It does do, like, it's like pure, pulp nonsense, but it's so it's so true to that. Like straight
Mhm.
away. Okay, we have a person who can like mutate monsters and stuff. Right. Level 2, where do we go? The zoo. Are we sure we should cross that off straight away? Don't worry, we're going to the
Don't-
museum later and we're gonna resurrect the dinosaurs. We got it under control.
Don't worry, we have plans.
Yeah.
No, it was real. It was good. And like even with like how I'll say it, with how silly the story itself is, like it was compelling. I wanted to know more about the silly mitochondrial wizards. Let's fucking go. I would rather something take like a realistic concept like mitochondria and then just go off the fucking rails with it. Just do something absolutely bizarro with it. As opposed to trying to keep it grounded in reality. I'm looking at you, Parasite Eve book. Yeah, no, this was cool. I really, really liked it.
I'm
I'm
sure you
sad
could
that
make
it's
like
over.
a compelling story if you just going like that one step removed, like science fiction kind of thing. But that's not ever what this is trying to do. This is
No.
trying to just be as rad as possible.
Absolutely, and it's like it's like
He
I
nails
don't have
it.
I don't have any issue with anything that is like, grounded in reality, but like slightly removed. But sometimes you do just want something like really funny and really hokey, and this ticked those boxes. But it like I do.
I'm not saying that like insultingly. Like that's exactly
No.
what I was
Yeah.
going for, and it fucking
Yeah.
killed it. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It was good and rad, and I loved it. Oh, look at these 30 points that I can drop into active time. Oh, yeah, no, this was delightful. I had a lot of fun with it. It's also just nice to play a good video game after playing not good video games for a little bit. I can't even remember what we played last. Fuck. What was it? Vampire. Vampire was...
Vampire were good. We did
Vampire
make
was
you do
good.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
This might be what you're thinking of.
Maybe. Possibly. Alright, well let me
Vampire were good, but it wasn't
Vampire was
good
good,
by
but
the
then
end.
but then fell off, yeah.
Yeah, it fell off massively.
Holy shit! What the There we go. Okay, sorry, I hit the wrong button on my scenes. It's fine, don't worry about it. Cause I got lost and didn't know how to read. Yeah, I might be thinking of Kingdom Hearts. Vampire was good, and then Vampire was not good. Which was disappointing because I wanted to like it.
Died really strong, and
then it
just
and then,
had such good voice talent.
Yeah.
Really wanted it to be good.
Yeah, and then it I don't know, I mean it already kind of lost us when it tried to finish its story with like the main stuff, but then ending with what's her fuck. It's just like you just stop now. No more. This does mean we need to find a new game to play for next weekend. I mean, fortunately we have a week to do that, but that's a thing.
What are we thinking of?
I don't know.
We got games for days.
We've got so many games. There's so many options. I know that there was some discussion of potentially doing some Alone in the Dark, just like the series as a whole. We also talked about, I do remember we talked about doing Bendy. Speaking of bad games,
yeah, we
talked
did.
about doing the Bendy game.
It might be fun to just lay into it.
Yeah,
that's always bad,
right?
And never disappoints us because we go in expecting it to be trash,
right? And we just had a nice time with a good game. We do remember what good games are like, and that's really nice and exciting. So we could just go into Bendy and do a bad and just talk about how shit it is. There were a couple of others, but those were like the main ones that I could think of at the moment. So those are possibilities. We'll see. We'll probably decide over the week. But if anybody has any suggestions or recommendations, I'm always open to hearing them. I'm not going to commit myself to saying I will do it, but you know. For now, shall we find someone to raid into? I have Cauliflumps doing some Raft, Nimbly doing some Zelder, and Flowers doing some Barony.
Like
We did just
the way
read
you said Zelda.
Zelder.
We
Look, I
raid
can't.
flowers all the time.
We do, and we did just raid Flowers yesterday.
Yeah, we love flowers, but we do pick flowers a lot.
Do people want to see Raft or Zelder?
Zelda, by the way, is a not many people know this. He's a small green man. Goes, ha! Yeah! Ha!
I was absolutely losing my shit the other day when you were reading those comments. I think it was from Tom, just doing your best Zelda impression. It was very good. What's a Zelda? Sounds awesome. All right, let's go say hi to Nimbly. Because we also love Nimbly here. Yeah. Hey, huh, yeah,
Yeah!
Oh, beautiful. General plan for the week. I do plan on streaming this weekend, or this week that is currently the weekend. I'm not streaming the weekend because it's the weekend now. I think we're gonna try and finish up A Plague Tale because we should be getting pretty close to the end of that. I meant to finish it this last week, but I was very tired on Wednesday after my appointment because it was a whole lot. Once we finish that, we'll try and finish A Hat in Time as well, and work on some whatever that game was, Rule of Rose, because I have had enough time to recover from my horrible saving choices, to get back to that. It was my own damn fault. I paid for it. I needed some time.
Horrible.
But yeah, we'll see y'all next time. As always, thanks Rudy for hanging out and just chatting while we play silly games.
Glad to be here. We got to see David on fire, passing you bullets.
So good, so good. But yeah, have a good rest of your time zone, friends, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.